Welcome to day 16 of me reviewing the 60 plus foundations in my collection. I have combo skin and I absolutely love testing new formulas to find the good ones that work for my skin type. And I'm passionate about sharing what I learn with you guys. I always use a trusted primer when I do a foundation review. I do not skip primer when I'm about to go work a 12-hour night shift. That's just not an option. If you haven't tried this Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Primer and you have large pores or texture, I urge you to give it a try. It also helps contain oil and shine breakthrough. Now, I know it's pricey, but they do sell this mini for $24, and you don't need a lot, so it does last a long time. I like to apply the primer and then finish my mascara while it dries down. And of course, I'm using the Fenty Beauty Hella Thick Mascara today because it is my absolute favorite. We have a brand new foundation to test out today. It's from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it's called the Impeccable Blurring Second Skin Matte Foundation. There are only 25 shades to choose from, so I just went with what normally works for me, which is a light medium neutral shade. The picture of the model wearing 3N looked pretty similar. Now, I purchased this before there were many reviews, so I really just had to trust the website's photos. It is $46 for 35 mLs. It's in this frosted glass bottle and very weighted. It's very nice packaging. They did send a free brush and a mini concealer with my order, which was very nice. It says to shake well, so I did that, but I also tried to warm it up in my hands too. I started with 2 very messy pumps on the back of my hand. The shade looked okay on my hand, but when I swatched it on my jawline, I knew it was going to be off. I'm always trying to match my self-tanned body in the wintertime, so I'm used to it looking a little bit off on my face. This almost seemed to have a green hue to it. I was scared of it oxidizing or drying down darker. When I swatched it on my hand the first day that I got it, it did dry down a little bit darker and almost turned more pink. So when I saw it turning green on my face, it was throwing me off. And then since they sent shade 3 in the concealer, I decided to add a very small amount to mix it, just to see if that might neutralize it some. I wouldn't normally do this in a new foundation review, but I was running short on time and I really wanted to get this filmed and get my first impressions uploaded for you since there aren't that many reviews out yet. I will say that I'm starting to wonder if they sent this concealer out to everyone on purpose because they knew that the shades were going to pull very warm. That's just a theory. But anyways, after I mixed in the concealer, I thought we were going to be good to go. When I turn, you can see that it dried down to a weird orange, almost green color on my jawline. The A30 domed kabuki brush that they sent was doing a nice job at blending, but it is so small that I felt like it was going to take forever to blend. You can see how blurring this formula is already as I blend it out on my cheek. On camera right now, it didn't look that bad. A little on the yellow side, but it wasn't too far off. I decided I was going to grab my Rose & Ben C42 brush to finish blending to save myself some time. Now, if you notice, it just keeps getting more yellow as I blend. And I don't know if you all can see it or not, but I definitely do see a green hue coming through. I was really trying to make this work and I didn't want to give up on it, so I decided to just go look in my collection and find my mixing pigments. This is the blue from LA Girl and it's supposed to neutralize. And what was really throwing me off is how it looked on my hand versus on my face. I went ahead and added another pump of the foundation and 1 pump of the blue mixing pigment to my hand. Then I just added a little bit to my cheek and a little to my chin and just wanted to blend it first and see if that was going to work before I completed my full face. At this point, as I'm blending, I'm about to give up because it's looking even more green. I did notice more of the blurring qualities on the back of my hand after it dried down, but I also feel like it did look smooth on my face. It just didn't fully blur my pores, and that was with a primer too. I went ahead and blended it all over my face, but I was just not loving it. So I wiped it all off and started over. At this point, I was panicking about time. I decided to add it to the palm of my hand so I could see the shade better. My self-tanned hand was throwing me off. Same thing, 2 pumps of foundation, but this time I added 1 pump of white and 1 pump of blue. Did you notice how green it looked as I was wiping that little part off by my eyebrow? It was definitely green, guys, I swear. All right, this ended up looking a little too light, but I was just happy to have it look more neutral. I just went for it and prayed for the best. Now, shade aside, the finish of this is actually beautiful. It provides great coverage and it doesn't feel heavy on the skin, which I love. I would say you could definitely build this up to full coverage, but I think you might run into a couple issues with that. Like I said, it does not feel heavy on the skin, but I did notice where I had to use a lot of product in this video, it did look heavy on my skin. So it's like you don't feel it, but you can see it. You know what I mean? I do not agree with it being a complete matte formula. I feel like it gives more of a natural finish. And as you can see, you can definitely tell that I'm wearing foundation. It's hard for me to know if that's because of the shade or because of the formula. I guess I will just have to keep playing around with that to figure it out. I just use the Stands Out sponge to press it in, and here I'm just giving you an up-close shot of my pores and my texture. It's definitely still visible, but I will say it does look a little bit blurred and a little bit more smooth. Since they sent the concealer, I went ahead and pulled out the other 2 shades that I had in my collection. I did 1 dot of shade 6, which is a good correcting shade for me. And then I just did 1 small dot of shade 4 right beside it. This shade is much more neutral. And then I did 1 dot of shade 3 to brighten up the inner corners. And while doing this, I noticed that the doe foot was different on the mini that they sent me. I'm not sure if that's a new thing for all the concealers or just the minis. I also noticed that shade 4 is actually lighter than shade 3. I'm just going to blend them all together anyway, so I don't care, but I just wanted to mention that and show you guys. So here you'll see shade 3, 4, and then 6 in the middle. And then you'll see I keep looking in the camera at my skin, and I'm actually starting to really like it now that I've added some cream bronzer. It's starting to look a lot better. I was going to go straight in with the brush, but I decided to use the warmth of my finger to kind of spread it out. This is probably one of the most full coverage concealers that I own, other than Shape Tape. I mean, you can tell those 3 dots are blending out so nicely. It's providing really good coverage. I just feel like this formula can be a little bit too thick for my under eyes, so I don't reach for it a lot. But I will say I really enjoyed it when I wore it to work. I think it held up pretty good. It creased a little bit, but not too bad. After I spread the concealer out, I took what was left over on my finger and just kind of used it to move it to my nose to highlight my nose a little bit. And then I'm going to take the brush and just pat it in. This is from Delium Tools. It is the Golden Triangle 788 brush. I love this brush and it's pretty inexpensive. If you're looking for a good brush brand, I think they're really worth checking out. I wanted to use this Polite Society blush in shade Sydney again. I really love how natural it looks, but I just hate the packaging. If you saw my last video, then you know. I'm just using the Makeup by Mario F4 brush to pat this in. I really do like this blush. Why does the packaging have to suck so bad? I always use the Real Techniques Miracle Concealer Sponge to tap out my creases before setting. And recently, I've been using a pressed powder first to set, like Charlotte Tilbury, or this powder, which is new to me from M-Cosmetics. I've been loving it, and I took it to work with me to use as a blotting powder, and it's amazing. This was the first time that I used it to set my under eyes, and I think it did a really, really good job. It's blurring and it's soft, and I don't feel like I had very many creases. I want to try this with a more thin concealer next and see what I think. But so far, I'm really impressed with this powder, and it just came back in stock, so check it out, M-Cosmetics. And I'm just using the little triangle puff from one size to blend it out, and as you can see, my under eyes look so smooth. I used the Huda Beauty powder in shade Pound Cake to set the rest of my face with this puff from Nikia Joy Cosmetics. I got this bronzer from Lancome in the mail today, and I just had to try it. The shade is 3 Light Medium. The packaging is stunning, and I was blown away by this formula. It's so smoothing on the skin. I cannot wait to play with this more. I also just purchased the new YSL bronzer, and I bought it in the shade 2. And I think it's just going to be a little bit too light, but it is a buildable formula. But if I had to recommend one of them, I would definitely recommend this Lancome bronzer. It's such a nice formula. I'm going to grab a little bit more of this blush on the Makeup by Mario F1 brush. And I just want to make sure it's going to show up on my skin. Sometimes when you add the bronzer, the blush can get kind of swallowed by it. So I want to make sure you can still see it. And I really, really do enjoy this shade. It's just very natural and subtle. I also picked up the new lipsticks from MAC. One of them is actually an OG shade Flesh Pot. And then I also picked up Cream de Nude and Costa Riche eyeliner. For today's look, I chose shade Whirl from MAC as my lip liner, and then I wanted to use Flesh Pot. I have wanted this shade lipstick for a very long time, but every time it comes back in stock, when I find out it's already sold out again, but they say that this is going to be a permanent shade from now on. It's in the M-A-Cximal Satin formula. This is what the shade looks like. It's just a beautiful peachy pink nude. It is so, so pretty. As I'm applying it on my lower lip, you can see it definitely gives a little bit of shine, but I'm going to add the Maybelline Lifter Gloss in shade Ice, just a little bit of that on top, just to give a little bit more shine. I did get the new ABH Impeccable Blurring Matte Setting Spray to go with the foundation, and you guys, it's such nice packaging. Again, I can't get over the packaging. The sprayer, the scent, everything about this is actually a 10 out of 10. I feel like the foundation has a little bit of blurring on its own, but I'm happy that I got both. I'm always down to try a new setting spray, and as you can see, I added quite a bit. All right, that's everything applied. I just wanted to show you some of the new things that I got in this video. All right, now let's jump into the first check-in. This is after 8 hours, and you guys, my skin still looks pretty incredible. We've been super busy at work, so I didn't have a lot of time to do these check-ins, but I did come into the bathroom, which has really bright fluorescent lights for you all to see my skin up close. And other than looking a little bit heavy, I think it looks really good for 8 hours. My under eyes are creasing, but that's not what we're here to talk about. All right, the last bit of footage I have is 13 hours in. I have used the M-Cosmetics powder to blot throughout the night at this point, and it held up really well. I do see some gathering around my nose, but other than that, it's just looking a little bit heavy. However, it doesn't feel heavy at all. I used probably more than I should have trying to perfect the shade. I hate to keep bringing up the shade thing, but I just feel like shade 3N is far from neutral. I honestly don't know which shade would work for me. I'll continue to use my mixing pigments because I do love the finish on my skin, and it wore very well considering how much I used. I will have to keep trying the setting spray with my other foundations to get a good idea of how it works. I would say if you need a new one and you're going to get the new foundation anyway, just go for it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and everything will be listed in the description box that I used in this video. I just got home from my 12-hour shift. I would say I completed the makeup around 5:45. Of course, my heat just kicks on. But I just wanted to come on really quick and show you what this foundation looks like after a very long night. Of course, my shine is coming through. I did use the M-Cosmetics blotting powder throughout the shift, and that seemed to really control the shine quite a bit. I have not blotted in hours now, so this is like typically what happens at the end of my makeup wear. It's like the powder just stops controlling it. You know what I mean? After so many hours, there's really nothing your powder can do anymore if you have oily skin. So I would say I'm at that point, but I just wanted to show you how everything is still holding up. From a distance, you can't even tell. It just looks like I have healthy, radiant skin. It's just when you get up close that you can see that it's really just my oils. I would say I noticed that gathering around my nose pretty early on, and it could totally be a blending issue. It could be that I used too much product where I was trying to get my shade to match. It's 8 a.m. So 14 hours. I think that's pretty incredible. I can't wait to keep trying it out. If you have combo skin and you're looking for a new foundation, I would definitely give this one a try. I think it is a good formula. However, my biggest thing is just the shade range. I don't even know what shade I would be. Honest to God, I don't. I have a MAC foundation in my collection that's too light. It's N6. I feel like if I would mix those two, I would get a really good shade. The mixing pigments did work. However, I still felt like it was too almost green. The undertone on its own, the foundation looks a little bit orange, yellow, but I also saw that green, which was really weird. I did watch a review last night of somebody with very fair skin. She was sent the shade 1N, and it was so yellow. I feel like that's going to be a thing with the neutral shades in this formula. I think One Size is really notorious for that. I feel like these brands need to really nail down what neutral means. I understand there could be neutrals with golden undertones and olive undertones and all of that, but in order for it to technically be neutral, it has to have some cool undertones in there. I just didn't see that. But anyway, enough of that. I am pretty impressed. So let me know what you guys think. I will see you very soon. And that's it. I appreciate you watching.